Hello, Blue Jays fans, and welcome back to another video. As always, I'm Ethan, and this is Brandon, and we are here to talk about everything post-winter meetings. It was a little bit of a rocky post-meetings for so many teams, but of course, we're here to talk about the Blue Jays. And, there were some eventful things that came out of the Blue Jays. Of course, the big news on the roster is that Dylan Cease is now on our lineup, and man, oh man, 2026 is going to look really great for our starting pitchers. But Brandon, I just want to get your thoughts as always. What did you think of the winter meetings for the Blue Jays?
Yeah, it was. We expected it to be relatively quiet, barring like a Bo Bichette, Bo Bichette news, which his market has been a little quiet over the last week. Obviously, now that Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso have signed, he's him and Kyle Tucker are the big guys left now in free agency. So I'd expect some news on Bo Bichette, in the next couple weeks. But yeah, I mean, it was just with Dylan Cease and Cody Ponce already in tow, the Blue Jays probably were never going to do anything major. They did pick Spencer Miles in the Rule 5 draft. He's a pitcher. He's got some impressive stuff. A big fastball. He could be a bullpen piece if he sticks on the roster. But yeah, I think it's just a lot of rumors right now. There's been a lot of talk of Jose Barrios maybe getting traded. He seems to be not pleased with the fact that he's probably going to get pushed out of the rotation now with Cease and Ponce in tow. So to be seen what happens on that front. The Blue Jays have been mentioned as suitors for Kyle Tucker, obviously for Bo Bichette. Kazuma Okamoto is a name we continue to hear behind the scenes, which again puts their infield in flux because who knows what happens if they sign a guy like him who's a true corner infielder. So there's a lot to keep talking about. Obviously, I think the Blue Jays have made their biggest moves of the offseason. Again, it's hard to make a bigger swing than Cease. Again, that's a $200 million pitcher. But yeah, I mean, I think that I still think the Blue Jays are the favorites to get Bichette. Obviously, I think most people are hoping that he stays. And beyond that, I would be shocked if the Blue Jays do not sign another top tier reliever.
Yeah, it would be really shocking again to we've kind of really checked off everything that we kind of need at this point, and out of every team in the MLB who kind of needs a player right now, the Blue Jays are not one of them. They're in a pretty good spot already. And back a week ago already, or yeah, it's about a week ago, the 2nd of December, when we got Dylan Cease, I mean, we really got everything we really needed out of this transaction at this point. Getting
Mhm.
Ponce was just kind of the cherry on top, if I could say so myself. But like you said, now that Kyle Schwarber and Pete Alonso have gone their separate ways, one to Philly and one to Baltimore, which I'm really excited about, it's kind of this question of what happens next to the lineup. Of Bo Bichette has been with the team for quite a bit. He was really integral towards the end of our World Series run. And so I think there's a lot of diehard fans wondering what's going to happen next. Again, you mentioned Kyle Tucker. I think a lot of people are now looking towards maybe him possibly going to the East Coast,
Mhm.
maybe going to the Yankees or the Mets now that, again, they lost Pete Alonso. But seeing him go to Toronto wouldn't be a bad move either.
Yeah, I think again, obviously, it's there's so many moving parts. Anthony Santander's obviously got his big contract in right field. He appears to be healthy. John Schneider was giving him a lot of praise at the winter meeting. So who knows? Obviously, Tucker would be even more expensive than Dylan Cease, and there's a question of can the Blue Jays really afford all these extremely expensive guys? Obviously, they have money to spend. It's just how much money. But yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting because obviously, I think some people out there probably questioned, the Blue Jays went from last to first. Obviously, they made their World Series run. There were probably some people questioning out there who, could the Blue Jays repeat it? And they're doubling down on this roster, which is obviously great to see. The starting rotation should be a huge strength with Cease and Ponce, and then Kevin Gausman, Trey Savage, obviously. Maybe if Barrios sticks around, Shane Bieber is still here, of course. And again, obviously, if they find a piece to replace Anthony Dominguez in the bullpen, you've got a good looking bullpen. So again, I think the Blue Jays probably have one more big move up their sleeve. I'm not entirely convinced that it's going to be Ketel Marte. I still think Bo Bichette is the priority. I don't think Marte is going to be the biggest fallback plan for them. Again, I don't necessarily know that, but I don't think he necessarily fits their profile as an older guy, sort of moving into the back half of his career. But either way, I think that the Blue Jays fans should just be thrilled that their team has already made the big moves for the offseason. No matter what happens from here on out, they get at least like a B plus grade for signing Cease and Ponce. So it's just a situation of now, can you get that B plus to an A plus? And so if that happens, great. But no matter what, I mean, the Blue Jays should be probably the favorites in what's looking like one of the best divisions in baseball history. I mean, obviously the Blue Jays should be great. The Yankees will be a threat with Garrett Cole back, but then you have the Red Sox who traded for Sonny Gray. You have the Orioles who just signed Pete Alonso. The Rays are always a threat. So it'll be a really fascinating division next year. But either way, I do think the Blue Jays will be the favorites coming into opening day.
Yeah, I think that this 2025 trade season going into 2026 has been a really historic one and a really exciting one to follow. But I think that teams are going to, as always, teams are going to get burned no matter what. But I think at least in this historic thing that we're following, the Jays are not one of them. But as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Are you happy with the moves that the Jays have, done so far? Are you hoping that Bo Bichette stays with the team? Again, do you hope that somebody else joins our team and joins the ranks? Let us know in the comments section below. And as always, we'll be responding to everyone.